I'm on Facebook Live because someone has to address the abuse of power, the abuse of authority, malicious prosecution, and criminal and civil violations of my rights by the Augusta County Sheriff's Department, the Augusta County General District Court, 12th District, Judge Shaw, Commonwealth Attorney Cattermole, Commonwealth Attorney Alexander Madera, Public Defender Alexander Randolph Rains, Commonwealth Attorney Alexander Rudolph Cattermole, and the way they handle things at the district court level. I've been falsely arrested, falsely accused, paperwork shuffled around, court dates rearranged, made to look like I'm not there, court dates that they know I have an appointment on. They've then changed the date of my court appearance to fit when I couldn't be there, so I would have a capias or something could happen during the court process. I was in Rockingham County Jail from November through April. During that time, I had 2 active orders of protection, where I was obviously available to appear before the court and answer to those orders of protection, and they were not available to me. They didn't call me. I don't believe the witnesses came. I believe those things should have been dismissed, but they were held over my head to be used for future, if necessary, as there may be potential parole violations or means to arrest me. The judge in the case has created 2 separate false hearings, along with the Commonwealth Attorney Alexandra and Public Defender Alexander Randolph Rains. I was charged originally with stabbing, attempted malicious wounding by stabbing, cutting, or slashing Thomas Gaines Jr., or as they call him, Gaines Thomas Jr. When I went to the preliminary hearing, my public defender decided he was not confident in my ability to help and assist in my own defense. His real problem was the fact that I didn't agree with the Commonwealth's version of the case. And why would I? Starting with the arrest. The felony was issued to me by Magistrate Judith Owens out the window without an affidavit of probable cause. And the officer that was supposed to have arrested me and saw this case was sitting in there before I got there. I received a felony arrest on 6/22/2023, 2024. The dates get a little bit mixed up. On 6/22/2024, for that arrest, Miss Keisha took me down. Deputy Keisha from the Augusta County Sheriff. She's the one that took me down to the station. Said I was going to be reviewed, see if I had taken my medication and everything was all right. She then later in her paperwork filed that she arrested me based on a warrant from Miss Bush. Now, Miss Bush was down at the station getting this warrant. My warrant was issued on 156, and then the misdemeanor warrants were issued at 204. I was in the office. I was in the sheriff's station before the warrant was issued. So that couldn't be done. So Keisha could not have arrested me on the warrant. Problem number 1. When I got there, Judith Owens issued a warrant out of the window. She said, she was talking to the officer. She said, what we have here is interfering with the property rights of an owner. And then, because there wouldn't have been a trespassing, I had no trespassing issues, and I was just knocking on the door when she came in to get me. Keisha did. She hands that out the window, but on top of it is a felony, malicious wounding, attempted malicious wounding by stabbing, cutting, slashing Thomas Gaines Jr. Now, this is a specific and very precise way of assaulting somebody. When you have to grade an assault, you don't grade it, you don't say, in general, otherwise wound. You can't say ran over with a car if there's no car involved. You can't say hit with a baseball bat. There wasn't a bat near the facility. So to say that stabbing or otherwise wounding is a generic or boilerplate language is just a lie. And what we need to understand in this county is that there seems to be a systematic way of these people getting what they want. Because I'm on parole from the state of Commonwealth of Pennsylvania until 2040. I was released on $1,800 secure bond. Now, why was this arrest made? Where are we going with it, and how did it get this far? That's the question you have to ask yourself. And what I would say here is, you have to look back to where I purchased the home here. We could go back further into Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and my relationship with Tammy Mae Bush and Keith Coyne, my parole officer there. But that would be a long stretch. And some of these things just may have been things, opportunities that as they occurred, it is snowballing into certain things. I don't believe it's a mass conspiracy to just target this man. I'm not that important. But I do know that certain people made certain decisions that they should not have made, thinking that it's just a small thing to help a friend. And why not? This guy getting out of jail 9.5 years. He's a dirtball. I'm going to hurt my friend to help this guy. But the bottom line is I bought a house on 7/5/2023, which is what I expected. I came 7/5/2023. I thought I was buying a home, as God had promised me in 2014. As I told my ex-wife, that I said, God has told me that I will have 20%, be 100% service connected, and we buy a home. And I'll have at least $20,000. I said $20,000 was the mark I gave. And that's what he told me. I started cutting out houses, looking for places to live. Right then, 1 year and 1 week after being in jail for 9.5 years, I purchased that home. I thought it was a part of a fulfillment of what God had promised to me. I had my 100%. I had $27,000 in May, and I was going to buy a home. The only difference was I was not married anymore, but I built things up with my family, and I was happy and felt blessed where things were going. I learned later on that J. Tom's Construction and Heather Harlow from People's Choice had somehow, for some reason, conveyed the property over to me on May 12th. Now, they could argue that I got the bed on May 5th, and they're putting it into the contract, and so they decided to convey the land over to me just as a precaution or something, to take it off the market. It's on the contract. But I don't think real estate agents do that. I don't think the person gives you proper ownership of it, conveys the land over to you. I put a deposit down May 5th. May 12th, they went in and signed over the property to me, notarized by Heather Harlow, and it was filed. According to my paperwork, it was filed with my fake deed stuff, with fake mortgage paperwork. I'll get into that a little bit later. But I signed that on July 5th. And then according to Mr. Landis, clerk of courts, all this stuff was filed at the same time. Now, I'd have to question that, because I believe the only thing that was filed was the deed that was filled out for May 12th, conveyed over to me, and then it says put together on this date, May 17th, 2023, and then signed and e-filed by Mr. Landis. So if I was conveyed over to me on May 12th, signed and e-filed by Mr. Landis on May 17th, why does it then appear as it's being filed again for me on this paperwork to sign on July 5th, 2023, and also why are there two different filing numbers, and one ending 44, one ending 43 of the paperwork that I received? This indicates fraud. This indicates fraud from the circuit court clerk. It indicates, so this is a problem with the circuit court clerk who has committed fraud to help somebody at J. Tom's, and then now you have mortgage fraud. You have tax fraud, because I'm 100% service-connected veteran. I don't pay taxes on my property. The fact that I don't pay taxes on my property means that you just can't take what you call closing costs and taxes and then decide to keep them, and you claim you paid the taxes for them. Why do you change the date over to May 5th or May 12th for me to own it for possession? I don't think you intended to sell me your home for $10. Of course you didn't. You filed it and conveyed the land over to me for $10. So I would be responsible for the taxes, the supplemental increase, the new assessment of the property, and all that, and you wouldn't have to pay the taxes. So J. Tom's, in order to save $1,000, maybe a couple $100, decided to sacrifice me, it seems. Or I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't come down to get it. No, I never know. But I did come down. I did take ownership of the house. I did sign the paperwork. I agreed to pay $2,163.49. I paid that. The closing costs of more than $14,000 down. And I began to try to live that dream and build something for my family, because I had taken so much away. And because of that, I was targeted for parole violations. I did 5 more months for changing my address. I came back, and then my money was stolen by Tracy Terrell, Tammy Maybush, and probably a couple others. Tracy Terrell I've known all my life. My best friend my entire time. I've never been around a lot, but we keep in touch. When I was younger, she reconnected with me when I got out of jail. I was always building a relationship. I wasn't saying she was building a portfolio on this. These people sold over $30,000 to me, and I guess that was their price. That was what they were allowed to have. That was the price of my life, my freedom, my family. At the time, that we sell house. I don't know. I can't figure out how quite what they would. But J. Tom's or another revenue or everybody lying to me in that age. I can't figure out why on July 9th when I picked up the deed, I was still struggling with salvation because I lost all that money. My father not parole violations. Changed my address 1 year, 1 week after I got out of jail. 9.5 years. I couldn't figure out why they didn't press the charges, why they didn't speak to help me get my claim back. I filed a claim of only $5,000 to the bank. I should have had at least $9,000 when I got out. I had $100 and some dollars. I filed a claim of $5,000 to the bank, to the sheriff's department, and only because the bank would not reimburse me, because they were changing the information around on my filing. You know, they hinted that they may have received or may have actually gotten the filing and gotten a refund. I don't believe they would have done that. That would have been bank fraud a level that even Navy Federal would have looked into, some of their accounting or whatever. But I do believe, as she was able to do, to manipulate my online account, because for Navy Federal, to change your password on your digital banking, all you need is the first three of your access card, access number, and the last four of Social Security. She lived with me off and on for 9 months. She would know the first three of that access number. It doesn't change, and she definitely had the last four of my Social Security, because she ran through and had made copies and had all kinds of information about my benefits and licenses and all that stuff. Enough to make cards, enough to create her own card and access to the council. They went in, they know what happened. I don't know why the sheriffs won't address her. I don't know why. I know Tracy Terrell's son is a deputy. What I've always wanted to know from them, and what I've only wanted, the only thing I've desired to really understand, is why someone I've known all my life thought my children didn't matter, my family didn't matter, that the years I did in jail didn't matter, and that I could then be, because I'm not, they knocked on my door this morning. I am not afraid to go to jail. I've been to jail. I can go to jail all day, every day. I did 9.5 years. I'm more comfortable sometimes in there because you guys have abused me out here. At least in there, I know I can use my email. The phone calls go to the people I'm calling. The stuff on my account is available, and I can use it. No one steals it except for if you go to account medical and all that. Then it charges half of that. But I can do jail, especially once I know what I'm looking at, what time it is. My problem with the jail here is I didn't do anything. You do 9.5 years, and some of that you could have got back because they did things bad. They didn't follow procedures. You could have filed certain things. You had wins, but you did because you said, you know what? You said you committed these crimes. I wrote a letter to Charlie Jones. Said, look, I committed these crimes. I still feel confident in my appeal, but I'm going to let you know that I'm guilty, and I'm no longer going to seek an appeal on these charges. I'll just do my time and try to make the best of it. And I committed then, and actually earlier before sending that, to be a better person, a better husband, better father, a better son, better child of God, period. So to do that, I had to take responsibility for what I've done and improve it. So I did that. Now, I'm not perfect, but I did that. The things I did it. I took ownership of them and set out to make it better, to make myself better. I was a better father. My son didn't know a father that wouldn't call him when he said was. You stole that. Stole it. So I see police are looking for me. I'm on parole. I'm going to go find a lawyer, see if a lawyer will help me to myself to find out what you want. But I wasn't going to go and get taken away like I have off my couch, doing nothing for another silly reason, so I can hide. You can figure out what to do with your latest emergency. Because every time you do that, I end up in jail for 3 or 4 weeks. I have to come back and reshuffle. You go through my paperwork. People drilled holes in my door when I was in Rockingham County, took stuff out of my house, locked the border from the street side. No one has been arrested by Augusta County Sheriffs, and I'm not under foreclosure. I own this home, 3365 Stewart Drive Highway. I will always own this home until I sell it. Commissioner of Revenue, you owe me my taxes back. You have not paid me half of 2023 and all of 2024. You will always owe that. Commonwealth Attorney Cameron, you're a liar. You seek no justice. You asked for a competency hearing, 8-1. Tracy Terrell showed up. I didn't because I was in jail. I didn't have a car. I applied. I had to go to a paper check with my VA stuff because my banks were being robbed. When I went to the paper check, Tammy Midbush and them, or somebody else, because I'm sure she's better than other people, applied for a Direct Express card for the Navy, for VA. So while I'm waiting for a paper check, they've already applied for a Direct Express card. I'm waiting for my check to come in paper. It's going to be coming on a credit card. It wasn't until 7, 4, or 5 I started really screaming and looking for it, going to the bank, looking for the post office, looking for my card. My check. I said, "Is there any mail? Is any mail?" No, sure, I haven't. They were saying I filled out transfers. They said I filled out to send it to other places. I got a post office box for that specific reason, because my mailbox was ripped out of the ground. And when I was in there, people were taking mail out of my box. So I said, I got a post office box. I got a post office box through a strap, and the mail wouldn't show up there. My medication, my iPad, things that are sent from the VA, these places. You can't get a VA check without having the proper address and your name on it. I sent it to the post office. Wow. Didn't get it. Didn't get the check. Didn't get the card. Somehow, somebody had access to my card. I either changed the address or I had access to the card because then July 9th I had a court date yesterday. The legal arrest is 22/20/24. Stabbed me, slashed me, cut me down with me. I was released again. 2 days later, no phone call, no medical intake. Seemed like a swing to me. I don't know what it was, but it seemed like you can do whatever you want you to. You can stop from the American office, stop seeking your money, and you're gonna get out of the house soon enough. Because I've been told and warned enough. But that's not me. I'm going to tell you just flat out to your face, that's not me. I have a high threshold for pain. I've had my ass whipped by more people with better hands than you guys have. That's the arrogant part of me, I'm going to tell you right now, because most of those I started, had something to do with, or was a part of. If I wasn't in that situation, I wouldn't have been in a situation to be hurt. So I could have done several steps along the way to say, hey, to avoid whatever happened. Whether I'm beaten and shot in Harrisburg, PA, or smacked in the head in Rockingham County. All of those could have been avoided. But this couldn't. My dream, my future for my family couldn't. My promise from God could not be avoided. I didn't steal this place. I bought it. Attempted to. I didn't come here and start poking my finger in your face, start coming out, fuck the police and all that. I came down here and I wanted to buy a home and secure life for my family. And you know what you said to me? You get out of my house. That's what she said to me. Across the street, I call for cops across 3378. You can't get one there. I knocked on his door yesterday because he seems to have a problem. He delivered 3 packages to me over the summer, and no one's lived here. He seems to have a problem and no cops go there. And when the cops did come down on 911, 3 of them spread out across the street and asked me if I was okay. There's a problem with Augusta County Sheriff's Department. There's a problem with Judge Shaw. There's a problem with Commonwealth Attorney Alexander Madera. They call them the Alexanders. It's a group of prosecutors and public defenders and stuff. And if you don't believe me, go run their cases. Find a case where they're attached to, and I bet you I'm not the only one because it was too smooth to practice. I went to a hearing. All my hearings, by the way, always scheduled for off hours, lunch times, and stuff like that. If I'm there in the morning during regular hours, when I was out not in jail, one of their summons, I'd be there at 8 o'clock, and I get a yellow slip saying, come back at 3, or come back Friday. I had 2 cases after missing having a capias on 8-1. I had 2 cases I was supposed to come to, 924 and 926. They were on my bond paperwork and everything. Got bailed out and all that. This was, to me, was supposed to be to prepare for missing the 8-1 competency hearing. That goes back to a trespassing case and all kinds of nonsense. But I show up 9:24, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I go up to one of the sheriffs, and he has a thing in his hand. I want to just verify I'm in the right place, right courtroom, what time. He turns around and says, what? Like I'm bothering him. The next officer who happened to see me, July 9th, pick up that deed on the date when I was at court, and it says on my paperwork I was supposed to be there. And then they gave me a paper, and I have a yellow slip that tells me to come back in August. Somehow I missed the court date, July 30th. The only court date I missed July 30th, so the tickets from Miss Keisha, or Kenesha, or Spears. Sorry, Deputy Spears. I've had so many deputies that it takes a little while to get the names. That was the only court thing I had, the tickets. But that somehow became my next hearing for July 9th that I was at after being arrested. Now, law enforcement officials, defendants, everyone out there, you get arrested, especially for a felony or something. You get arrested on, say, June 22nd of 2024. You get RR, or unsecured bond. Wouldn't have happened for me. I'm on parole from Pennsylvania for a felony. 18 years. We know that because I was sent back to jail for taking my